Hi, I'm Nate the Bias User, and right now I'm going to be reviewing this Sobs album, Air Guitar. With a lot of power pop I've came across recently, it wasn't terrible, but everything I was hearing ended up being carried a lot by the singing. And this definitely ended up being the case for this band with their latest release, where I was blown away by not just the singing on the intro and title track, but the production over it that is clean, detailed, and emphasized an atmosphere in the crowd of windy production. And even though one quality was better than the other, with this and plenty of other cuts here, I was still able to see everything about these songs to average out into a quality, not to mention fun, body of work. But even with there being a lot of quality here, this record was not without my complaints. The drums on the second track, Dealbreaker, had a simplicity to its performance that was shoved down my throat. Too hard for me to fully appreciate the squeaky synths playing around. And the follow-up Lucked Out was just too short for the track to even process itself. But right after this we get Friday Night, that brings in a catchy acoustic being backed up by a wonky synth that did no less than help the track's excitement. And while this track gives the normal power pop elements, we later get the song building up into a dreamy and fast drum and bass section that was interesting. Then there's the track Last Resort, where I was already into the jangle pop. I was getting off the single string guitar play, but I was feeling paralyzed during the psychedelia of the windy chorus, with the interactions between the singing, guitars, and production being the most responsible for my feelings for this one. This track was amazing and stands out, but it ends up getting followed up by probably the most generic power pop track, Burn Boy, where most of the experimentation that was there felt existent but buried alive. Rough moment on the final couple of tracks, but the last duo of cuts were good enough for me to not think this record landed on its face. World Implode was a beautiful and colorful world of a track, and I would say Loml was a bright piece of work. With vocals so catchy, they even stood out to me during the chaotic loudness of the instruments. And I liked hearing the main vocal repetition as the vocals and instrumentals faded out at the end, making a satisfying ending to the record. Even though there are indie, bedroom, power pop cliches covering this album, I still ended up seeing the majority of the tracks making good use of it, with its own originality and beauty. And even if it wasn't on every track, this still resulted in one of the better power pop albums I've heard this year. I'm gonna give this album a 7.2.